Okay. It's currently day 7 of trying to learn how to prepare for, not to learn, but prepare for the MUN. So, yesterday the reading session went really bad. My freestyle talking is really good, but my script reading or reading something aloud is really bad. So, I'm gonna work on it today as well, rather than making scripts. Because making scripts is kind of easy. You just need to do research, but reading aloud is hard. So I'm gonna focus on that now. Lift off here, so I'll continue from here. Was there then among them no truly devoted person who, if he failed to use just a couple of hours in the morning for office work, would become abnormal from pangs and conscience of and really be in no state to get out of bed. I don't know what that sentence meant. Anyways, was it really not enough to let an apprentice apprentice make inquiries if such questioning was even necessary? Must the manager himself come, and in the process must it be demonstrated to the entire innocent family that the investigation of this suspicious circumstance could only be entrusted to the intelligence of the manager, and more as a consequence of the excited state in which this idea put Gregor. Then, as a result of an actual decision, he swung himself with all his might out of his bed. There was a loud thud, but not a real crash. There was a loud thud, but not a real crash. The fall was absorbed somewhat by the carpet, and in addition, his back was more elastic than Gregor had thought. For that reason, the dull noise was not quite so conspicuous. But he had not held his head up with sufficient care and hid it. He turned his head, irritated and in pain, and rubbed it on the carpet. Something has fallen in there, said the manager in the next room on the left. Gregor tried to imagine himself whether anything similar to what was happening to him today could have also happened at some point to the manager. At least one had to concede the possibility of such a thing. However, I realize that if I read it from a distance, it's easier to see the whole paragraph because the text is quite large, and I can actually see the words that's coming up next. I shall continue. Where was I? Okay. In which of if he let himself okay, I talk like this, right? Okay. If he let himself fall out of bed this way, his head, which in of course be intended would lift sharply, would probably remain uninjured. Wait, sorry. My bad. And today. However, as if to give a rough answer to this question, the manager now took a few determined step to the next door, with a squeak of his polished boots. From the neighboring room on the right, the sister was whispering to inform Gregor. Gregor, the manager is there. I know, said Gregor to himself, but he did not dare to make his voice loud enough, and so that the sister could hear. Gregor, his father now said from the neighboring room on the left. Mr. Manager has come and is asking why you have not left on the early train. We don't know what we should tell him. Besides, he also wants to speak to you personally. So please open the door. He will be good enough to forgive the mess in your room. In the middle of this, the manager called out in a friendly way, "Good morning, Mr. Samsa. He is not well," said his mother, and to the manager while his father was still talking at the door. He is not well, believe me, Mr. Manager. Otherwise, how could Gregor miss a train? The young man has nothing in his head except business. I'm almost angry at that he never goes out at night. Right now, he's been in the city 8 days. Now he's been in the city 8 days, but he hasn't been. He's been at home every evening. He sits there with us at the table and reads the newspaper quietly or studies his travel schedules. It's quite a diversion for him if he bruises himself in his fretwork. For instance, he cut out a small frame over the course of 2 or 3 evenings. You'd be amazed how pretty it is. It's hanging right inside the room. You'll see it immediately as soon as Gregor opens the door. Anyway, I'm happy that you're here, Mr. Manager. By ourselves, we would never have made Gregor open the door. He's so stubborn. He's certainly not well, although he denied that this morning. I'm coming right away, said Gregor slowly and deliberately, and didn't move so as not to lose one word of the conversation. My dear lady, I cannot explain it to myself or any other way, said the manager. I hope it's nothing serious. On the other hand, I must also say that we business people, luckily or unluckily, however one looks at it, luckily or unluckily, however one looks at it, very often simply have to overcome a slight discomposition for business reasons. So, can Mr. Manager come in to see you now? Asked his father impatiently and knocked once again on the door. No, said Gregor. In the neighboring room on the left, the painful stillness descended. The neighboring room on the right, the sister began to sob. Why didn't his sister go to the others? She'd probably just gotten up. She'd probably just gotten up out of bed now and hadn't even started to get dressed yet. Then why was she crying? Because he wasn't getting up and wasn't letting the manager in, because he was in danger of losing his position, and because of his boss would badger his parents once again with the old demands. Those were probably unnecessary worries right now. Gregor was still here and wasn't thinking at all about abandoning his family. At the moment, he was lying right there on the carpet, and no one who knew about his condition would have seriously demanded that he let the manager in. But Gregor wouldn't be casually dismissed right away because of this small discourtesy, for which he would find an easy and suitable excuse later on. It seemed to Gregor that it might be far more reasonable to leave him in peace at the moment, instead of disturbing him with crying and conversation. But it was the very uncertainty which distressed the others that excused their behavior. Mr. Samsa, the manager was now shouting, his voice raised. What's the matter? You are barricading yourself in your room. Answer with a yes or a no, and making serious and unnecessary trouble for your parents, and neglecting. I mentioned this only incidentally. Your commercial duties in a truly unheard manner. I am speaking here in the name of your parents and your employer, and I am requestioning you in all seriousness for an immediate and clear explanation. I am amazed. I thought I knew you as a calm, reasonable person, and now you appear suddenly to want to start parading around with weird moods? The chief indicated the chief indicated to me earlier this very day, a possible explanation for your neglect. I concerned the collection of cash interested to you a short while ago, but in truth, I almost gave him my word of honor that this explanation could not be correct. However,